I guess we're in business. All right, here we go.
All right.
Welcome again, everybody, to Retail Redux with Cory Zelnik. That's me. I'm very excited today. I guess I'm excited every week, but really excited this week to have my good friend Gabriel Gonzalez joining me today from South Florida. He's
Ooh,
very spirited today. Actually, he's been spirited the last few weeks because his Miami Dolphins are 3-0, and
that's right.
I guess that'll date stamp a little bit this podcast, although I'm not exactly sure when it'll air, but that's okay. Uh,
That's
he,
fine.
sh- he should be proud for as long as he can possibly be proud of that crew. Um, let me start with my formal introduction of Gabriel. We'll go with Gabe from here on in. First and foremost, Gabe is a senior leasing agent for Regency Centers down in Miami-Dade and South Broward County in Florida. Regency Centers, they are huge. They are 56 million square feet of retail excitement, almost 500 properties now. And I know they've recently come up here to the Northeast, so we're excited. I should say a bigger stronghold in the Northeast. They've been here before, but they took a
Yeah.
big chunk of Connecticut, Westchester, and we're happy to have them, certainly. Um, Gabe is handling about 3 million square feet of property, Class A properties throughout the Miami area, and he's been doing it for about 15 years with Regency. I know they're happy to have him. On a personal note, with regards to Gabe, he is an Air Force military brat.
Yes,
I think
sir.
now, I think now I would just call you a brat, but you're a
Oh,
military
for sure.
brat. You're a brat, and he's been around the world. He's been everywhere because of that, and it's been a wonderful thing. And I've gotten to know Gabe personally, and he really happens to be truly a worldly guy. He's spent the last
Thank you.
25 years in Miami, and he is well entrenched there. On a business level, Gabe and I talk about this all the time. He probably more than most probably engaging with with brokers and tenants and attorneys and developers. But that comes with the territory. When
Yeah.
you're a leader in your field, you got to do those things. Uh, how I got to know Gabe, and I'm throwing this into his bio because it's an important part of the discussion we're going to have, is social media, and we talk about it all the time. I consider Gabe a dear friend of mine at this juncture. We've only met once in person, but we are tight. We're tight knit. I know
Yes,
about
sir.
his family. I know about his family. His wife Alexis and I happen to share the same birthday, so she's my birthday sister. And he's got his kids, his beautiful daughter Jade, 16, and Jacob, 13. Did you know yesterday was National Daughter Day? I caught that late.
Oh, no, I didn't.
I know we both knew
Now I
that.
feel like a bad dad.
Yeah, I know. We talk about that later. By the way, you and I are two of the best dads around, so no discussion necessary. Um, Born in Panama City under Colonel
Yeah.
Noriega. Under Colonel Noriega,
Oh, yeah.
Gabe is a proud Puerto Rican American, but as he says to me, I am American all day, all night, every day. Go USA.
Yes,
With
sir.
all of that said, I welcome my good friend Gabriel Gonzalez to Retail Redux. How are you, Gabe?
Thank you. How do I follow that? How do we start after that? That's a hell of an
Well,
intro.
well, you're a hell of a guy with a hell of a resume, and I think that's just the bullet points. Tell me more about you. Tell me about how you got there, what you're doing, all those good things.
Um, I think when I was 20, so I'm a two-time college dropout. I really didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And when the '08 real estate, right before '08, '05, '06, '07, I was in my early 20s and just saw all this real estate happening. And I'm like, man, I really think I could do that. I was in transportation brokerage. So I was helping ship goods, to Walmarts and Home Depots and stores. And I was doing audio engineering. So I used to run soundboards and all that and do editing back in my teenage years. And I really wanted a real job. I wanted a career. I wanted to do something. And I got into real estate doing residential real estate
Okay.
right as the market started imploding. Great decision.
Hey.
And about a year in, I really hated life. I was not a residential realtor. It's a very emotional business.
Hmm.
People don't buy a house because the window's facing east or the kitchen's too small. And in the process of all this, a for sale by owner that I sold to happened to have the rights to an edible arrangements in my city.
Okay.
And the shopping center he wanted to go into, which I had no idea, was owned by my best friend's uncle. And so my guy goes to me, "Hey, I want to open up a store here. Look, I don't know what I'm doing." He's like, "Fine, get somebody in your office. I just want you involved in the deal to make sure it's done the right way."
Okay.
I went to the property, and sure enough, it's this guy I know. He was the best man at my wedding, and it's his uncle, and he made the intro for me, and he pretty much, "Look, all I want is your tenant. I'll pay you a fee." The guy also happened to be a GC, so he's like, "I'll do all the build out. All I want's the tenant."
Okay.
And so we did that whole process, and then I got the check, and I was having so much fun, and I'm like, "Holy shit, I want to do this thing now."
All right.
Um, and that's what kind of started things. My daughter's 16, so 15 years, because I started right after she was born. I went into the commercial division, and while I was doing that, got called by a local landlord who did not have a Spanish speaker, even though all of his shopping centers were in Hispanic areas,
Okay.
and that kind of pulled me in from a residential company into there, and then started a very long and painful journey sometimes, but
Okay.
long
Well,
and worth it.
pain is good, but that's interesting. It's so many of the people that I speak with, whether it's on a podcast or in person, and I fit that same bill. Is how'd you get into the business? And sort of by accident,
Yeah.
right? Sort of by
Well,
accident. And
I didn't know this world existed. I
right,
had no idea.
right,
No idea.
and in your case, some luck, and and that's what comes along with it. So that's pretty
Uh,
exciting. And so you take it from there. You're working for a Spanish owner, Spanish speaking owner.
they're an owner of a Hispanic grocery chain down here in South
Okay.
Florida, and the firm I worked for was their go-to
Okay.
management company, leasing company. I was there for basically until the world fell apart in like 08, 09, where they pretty much said everyone's SOL, you're on your own.
And
Um,
were you still being paid a fee at that point? Were you a salary, excuse me, or were you
Not
on
towards
fees?
the end. No, they
Okay.
had changed our payment structure just because the world was
Right.
pretty much came to a standing halt. So it was commission, and I was there for a while, and then they were just kind of pulling product away from us. And we were encouraged to go get business, but it was just very weird. And
Right.
I was 22, 23. I didn't know any better. I didn't have any savings. I didn't really have any real contacts. I
Mhm.
wasn't out in the world networking. I was very much an introvert at that time, where I would go to these trade shows and I was too scared to talk to anybody.
Sure.
So I'd be in the corner and hoping somebody would come talk to me. I really didn't know how our world worked. So when things started shifting, I went and interviewed at a developer. They made me an offer. I was like, fantastic. I resigned where I was at, went to go fill out the paperwork to start at the new developer, and they're like, "Hey, thanks, but we're actually losing all of these assets we hired you to work on.
Oh,
We don't have a job for you."
okay.
Uh, so then I literally didn't have a job. So
Are you
for
are you
about
and are you? I'm sorry. So are you living at home at this point? I mean, how are you getting by? What are you doing?
so luckily, my in-laws owned a huge property, and there was an extra building on the property that they let us live. Me, my wife, and my daughter. At this time, my son hadn't been born, or was about to be born, and we basically lived in this little efficiency, this little 700 square foot efficiency. She was a teacher at the time, and I was trying to get bills paid.
Sure. Sure.
So we went to do the job, don't have a job. Shit, what do I do now? And I literally, for probably about 5 months, went to go work at a water sales company selling bottled water, water filtration systems, paper, coffee
Right.
filters, and all that for like 4 or 5 months until I actually got into a car accident. Somebody rear ended me on the highway, and I didn't have a car. I didn't have a way to get around. So they literally told me, "Well, then you got to take a bus here to work every day." I'm like,
Jesus. Right.
I don't know how to do this. And they ended up firing me. And I just kind of sat at home depressed for a week or two. I said, all right, I clearly love real estate. I had a little bit of success doing it. Maybe it's not going to work out, but I'm at least try. Worst case, I'll go work at a restaurant. I'll go do something. Found a friend who had a company and he was looking to do a commercial division. I kind of told him my whole story, and he's like, "Look, here's a desk, here's a phone. If you think you can make it work, go for it." And I ended up starting a commercial division there. I was there for about 6 years, and we are very successful.
Okay.
Took down some listings in some cool parts of Miami, sold some buildings, got into restaurant sales, got into some leasing, office stuff, industrial, and just kind of a general brokerage boutique. Was there for about 6 years, and we had a good run of it, built a good team. A lot of the people I still work with today originated from that little crew that we had in Coral Gables. So it was a fun little run. And then, as things progress, that same developer reached out again. Hey, things are back to normal. We'd love to kind of have you if you'd be willing to talk to us. And we went over, and I was there for, I don't know, about 5, 6 years, and then now at Regency for about 5 years. When the previous person who had my position was
Hmm.
moving on to another firm, we'd built a relationship. She called me. She's like, "Look, I think it's time for you to kind of step up into the big leagues. Here's a good opportunity." I was a little hesitant. I actually said no to Regency twice, just because the I didn't think I had the skill set to,
Okay.
Regency is such a respected company and they do just amazing product. And here I am, this local guy who doesn't have a formal education. I'm a college dropout. I failed so much in my past, and here we are getting this opportunity. I told them no twice. Um, and then the third time, they actually came down and sat with me and explained to them why it'd be a good fit and all that. And Beth Azor actually made me sit down with them because I was like, it's not for me. It's not going to work. I don't have the skill set. It's not going to do it. And we were at a lunch, and she literally was like, they're over here. They're here to talk to you.
Right.
Put your fork down, and out of courtesy, you are going to go sit with them and talk to them. And here we are, almost 6 years later.
Well, all things in Florida lead back to Beth somehow, some way, because she
Always.
is she's a queen in our industry, and she's a queen certainly down in Florida. She owns Florida, and
She's
that's great. And,
Yeah. Beth
we,
has changed my life and career, so she's an
oh my
amazing
God,
person.
yeah, there's some luck in there too, because if you stayed around as like the knucklehead that you were, turning down Regency and not having some self confidence and not running into Beth, you'd probably be at that other company, still sitting
Probably,
there. You know,
probably, and
well, it's
it's been a life changing experience.
it's a real interesting story. We all hear about, you gain and go further in this world from from your failures, and
one hundred percent.
you had a handful of them, and we all had a handful of them, and we move on and we go forward. And now, now you're a rock star. You're a rock star. No, you are. You are. I mean that sincerely. I mean that sincerely. Um, and we're going to talk a little bit about social media and stuff, but let's just hone in a little bit on the real estate business, because sort of what we do. Um, Florida has been tremendous, right? It's been blown up,
Yeah.
blown up, all those things. Post pandemic, and it doesn't seem to be quieting down much.
No.
You're my guy. You're my guy. I'm saying, I pick up the phone, I call up Gabe Gonzalez, say, Gabe, in a nutshell, talk to me about Florida. And so now I'm asking you, tell me what you see, what you feel down there, and where do you think it's going?
I think the initial rush after COVID, like it was almost a desperation, like almost like when there's a housing crisis and there's nowhere to live and there's 50 people lined up just making an offer. I don't care. Here it is. That's what really happened right after COVID. And that certainly has cooled off, but the demand is still there. There's not 500 people outside your door, but there's still five. And there's
Right.
still six, and there's still multiple offers on spaces. And if you've got second gen spaces that are medical or restaurant, you will lease those spaces out uh, higher than what previous rents were, and you'll be able to push that envelope depending on the size and conditions and all that.
That's
But
a,
it
and
the
that, by the way, that's not a theme that's totally owned by Florida.
No,
That's nationally,
yeah.
and so even in New York we have the same kind of thing. So go ahead, keep talking retail.
And I think what I'm seeing now is I'm seeing a lot of people being very cautious,
Mhm.
but still optimistic. And
Okay.
so I'm seeing the time that deals are taking to get done extend a little bit just because attorneys are being a little bit more thorough. Tenants are having their GC not visit one time, but two or three times. They're going to the city multiple times. So everyone's just being very cautiously optimistic. The foot traffic in our centers are up, just kind
Okay.
of case in case overall. Our sales in our shopping centers are up. So we're seeing all the right things. And I think when there's so much chatter going on in the media and in the world, we've got an election coming up. So there's a lot of uncertainty with those things. So people are just making sure they're dotting their I's and crossing their T's. I'm seeing a lot more of that now, but I'm excited with the velocity that we have and spaces that have been vacant for 3, 4, 5 years have activity. We have LOIs going out on them. And so I'm very happy with the progress that we've seen in this last, call it 12 to 16 months.
Big box conversion to whether it's pickleball courts and things like that. Are you seeing that kind of stuff? Are you seeing just
Not
the
Not
next?
really down in South Florida,
Okay.
just because box vacancy is so rare. So, we've got some bed baths that came back to us and things like that, but the demand for big box spaces is still there. So I'm not seeing the conversion. When you've got five or six nationals that are running to an empty box,
Mhm.
the conversion we're not just having that just yet. I know up in
Okay.
Jacksonville, I think we're looking at one, but par for the course, we're filling in retail for like retail, so soft good to soft good. If there's an ability to upgrade from soft good to grocer, that's definitely happening.
Right.
We all know grocery sales in the state of Florida, how they are.
Sure.
The Publixes of the world who are just doing an unbelievable job expanding, and Aldi and the recent purchase of Winn-Dixie and all those things that are happening. It's grocers are still dominating the game down here and doing well.
That's good. And I guess even with inflation, people still have to eat. It
They
costs
still
a
have
little
to eat.
more, unfortunately, but they still have to eat. Any big name box tenants you want to talk about that you've seen come your way that you can talk about? And I can edit. And by the way, I can edit this if you don't want to talk about any tenants. So
Yeah, that one I can't touch.
no problem.
That one's the one I can't touch.
That'll come out, Steph. Um, what you call it. So now what I've heard with the various people that I've spoken to out of New York is that because of the cost of construction, there hasn't been a tremendous amount of development that has gone on. And I'd imagine that's helping your centers just the same, right? These boxes are
Yeah,
getting filled and refilled, I should say, because there's not new product coming online. You still seeing that, feeling that?
100%. The so many people that I'm talking to are investment sales or
Mhm.
developers. They're like, these deals do not pencil out.
Okay.
So we are seeing not a stagnation, but certainly a bottleneck of developments coming to market. So while it's not so great for the tenants because they don't have new product coming online,
Right.
there's some product, but it's far and few in between compared to where it was 5, 7, 9 years ago. It is certainly helping us just because if you're at 90% lease, 92% lease, and there's no new vacancy coming online in the
Right.
market, your ability to move those rents up and increase your NOI, you're literally as much as the tenants can perform in sales, because rent is a metric of sales. It's got to fall within
Of
that
course.
threshold.
Of course.
You can push those rents to a number that makes that really increase your NOI at paces that we just, I don't want to say shocked to see, but we're surprised to see that it just continues to grow. Blowouts are not happening. We're not having overnight move outs yet. Not yet, but just not seeing it. And
And I don't think
so,
I don't think across the industry we're going to see more. There's always going to be one or two here or there, but I
always,
think that statistically speaking, there have been more openings than closings, just as a general rule in our industry. I think that someone's going to fall out because they always fall out, but I just don't think that we're
yeah.
going to see a total blow up by any stretch of the industry. I think that
Uh,
all the natural indicators that we deal with on a regular basis, the inflation, the chance of recession, now the kids got to pay back their student loans, so there's less spending going on. I
yeah.
think that the good retailers see beyond that, and with opportunities being limited, they got to grab it where they can.
I agree. I think COVID was the beginning. If you were a retail operator that never evolved, if
Mhm.
I walked into your store and it looked like 1975 inside, and the POS system had not been updated, the store layout, the fluorescent lighting, no social media marketing, those are the type of people that COVID unfortunately put
Yep.
out of business, but opened the path for more modern concepts that are truly indicative of what the consumer is today. And the reality is the consumer has choices. Not only does the consumer have brick and mortar choices, now they've got digital choices,
Right.
and consumers are loyal to those brands. So great example, Dr. Squash is a deodorant soap company that I love their branding online. I'm a huge fan of their product. Now they sell it at Target. And so I
Right.
found myself at Target the other day just to go, instead of waiting a week or two to get my products, I went to the store to get it. So as we see, Kohl's bringing in Sephora to their
Mhm.
stores, all these retailers adapting to the consumer, that's what this whole thing did. And
Right.
if you didn't adapt, you were one of the ones that was ushered out of business, unfortunately.
Right. let's call them Payless shoes, right? It's
Hey,
back.
they're actually back.
I know. They
They're
well,
trying.
someone's always smart and they keep the name and like someone
Oh
kept
yeah.
they keep someone bought Bed Bath and Beyond, the
Bed
intellectual
Bath, Pier
property,
One,
right?
all those brands have been purchased. Yeah.
And that's just a new. All that is, good for them. It's a new way of doing business.
Yeah.
You may not have a box in your center, but they're still in business, and
They're still around.
that's part of the overall creativity that comes with our business, and not to mention, it's interesting about Dr. Squash, but like how many online businesses are taking small boxes. I say them small box. Here in New York, you'll see a 500 footer, 1,000 footer. It creates the presence. The cost of customer acquisition is cheaper by having a store than just
Yeah,
doing it all online. And like you said, the adaptation of the better retailers to deal with the market is going to create the success long term,
for
and
sure.
we continue to see that, and I think that's a really good thing. Um, it's continues to be the topic du jour, so I'll ask you about it for down in Florida. Cannabis, how are you seeing that in your world?
It's everywhere. It's pretty much on every corner in centers that are not owned by the REITs. So
Okay,
you're not seeing the big guys, Kimco, Regency. None of us are touching that.
okay,
It's still on the federal level.
right,
That whole gray, murky area. So I'm not seeing it in your traditional grocery anchor shopping centers down here, but they are on pretty much every single corner. Individual ownership groups, out and out parcels that were stripped out of the main center. So they're everywhere. I mean, they're all
okay,
over the place, at least here in Dade and Broward. I can't speak to Orlando or Tampa. I haven't really traveled much around those markets, but I know that they're popping up. Whenever I skim, Crexy and CoStar for what's available for sale and just kind of looking to see, I'm seeing a lot of those all over the state of Florida. Triple net, cannabis,
right.
out parcel deals that are being sold.
No, and you answered my question really at the start. There is that the REITs are staying away from it still.
I think it's hard for them to get a grasp on it.
Right,
There's the uncertainty of it, being illegal on a federal level, state laws being so different. Can you not do it? Then you've got your national tenant restrictions, which that is in a lot of leases that you cannot have those types of businesses. So it's this very unknown area. I'm hearing throughout the country that some REITs are becoming kind of friendly to that idea and open to figuring out how to do it. Heard, without mentioning names, two national grocers who are now exploring either selling it themselves or being involved in the business. So I think the stigma of it has changed a lot in the last, I don't know, 36 months, 48 months, as we've seen the medical benefits of it. And you're seeing more on the kind of white hat corporate side
right.
acceptance of it. So it's only a matter of time. You can see the writing on the wall.
And you're going to have important discussions probably with important tenants on a go forward basis as to
Yeah,
what language you could put in those leases, right? Because
for sure.
this is a real industry; it's not going anywhere. I always thought, like years ago, when in the very early stages of cannabis and the fact that it was going to be expanding on a legal basis, I always felt like, if Starbucks just was able to buy a cannabis company, well, then they'd have like 30,000 units in 1 minute and they'd be everywhere.
True.
Clearly there's rules and regs all over the place.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's an ever changing, ever evolving. I mean, think
I
about
think
it,
the
right?
banking sector is the one that kind
Yes.
of is the big roadblock.
Yeah.
Is you can't accept payment, you can't. So it's once the banking system either gets on board or doesn't get on board or makes a decision or does it. Typically in our country, when you follow the money, you can kind of see where the current's moving. So it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, I agree.
When, I don't know.
And the federal law that they constantly refer to is about 125 years old, but yet
Yeah,
that's what they stick. That's what they stick to.
we'll see.
But going back to creativity, you saw a lot of it, I'm sure, with coming out of COVID, right? We didn't have these drive up stalls and pick up for your tenants, right? Giving them two
Yeah,
parking spots. So, whether it's Target or whomever, you can online order your package. They leave it in the lot and pick it up.
yeah.
You know, it's making
We've
it
seen so
exciting for the
much of
lawyer.
that.
Yeah, I think it makes it exciting for the lawyers also, right?
The slip and falls and all that. Yeah, those are always fun.
Yeah,
We got pretty proactive when COVID was the thing
right,
and pickups was everywhere. We really started looking at all of our properties. Where can we add these stalls? How do we help our tenants? The
right,
reality is, as a landlord, your customer is the tenant. So you've got to make sure these people stay open and operating. So what can we do? So in a lot of our centers where we had the parking ability, it was adding in those numbered stalls, working with the tenants. Hey, Chipotle, you've got number one, stall number one, Habit Burger, you've got stall number two, and that way you can do your curbside ordering to go. A lot of our anchor tenants did the same thing. The Publixes, Targets, Whole Foods of the world, adding their pickup stalls. And it's been a big part, and it continues to be a big part of our business. Every tenant wants assigned parking. That's always the fun negotiation tactic, depending on the project. But we certainly want to do everything we can to help our tenants succeed. And curbside pickup, it's just a reality of the consumer nowadays. I know, especially at Target, if I can just have an order ready to go, I would much rather sit in my car and pop out some emails to go shopping in the store. Because if I walk into that store, I'm going to buy about 30 things I really didn't need, but I wanted. Always.
Well, that's how that retail was designed to begin with, right?
Yes, sir.
I always take it back to my my pharmacy days when I was doing chain drug stores. The pharmacy was always in the back.
Yeah.
That was the service they were providing. You got to
You got to walk
all
through
the
it.
aisles to get there, and so
We call it the IKEA factor. It's like you're going to go in for one thing, but you got to walk through it to get that
no,
one thing.
absolutely, absolutely. And have you seen, just I guess pharmacy wise, do you have chain drug in some of your centers, some of your pads, anything?
Not really. Everything is kind of dominated by the grocers. The grocers
Right.
doing their own pharmacy, or CVS, or Walgreens. That's really the only pharmacy choices down here. I actually just did a true standalone pharmacy deal last week. We did. It's an 1100 in a little strip center. It's not anchored by a grocer. It's not a sexy center. It's just one of the strip centers that we acquired when Regency purchased Equity One. And it's a little 20,000 square foot strip center. We just did an 1100 square foot pharmacy. It's his second or third location. He's crushing it because he's an alternative to the chains.
All right. And I was going to ask you, I mean, the whole world of pharmacy has changed a lot in terms of, the amount of pharmacies in general. Rite Aid's going to close about 500 stores now. I mean, I know Walgreens owns a chunk of them, and the FTC gets involved all the time, and whatever. But all of that aside, there was but a few years ago, there was a discussion where the pharmacy itself, the 10,000 square foot freestanding pharmacy at the corner at the light, was going to sort of go the way of the dodo bird. And because so much of the product in those aisles that we refer to, all that stuff is online now. And so it was really just about the pharmacy. And I thought I remember a couple of years, maybe 2 years ago, that Walgreens did like a Walgreens Express. And I thought it was in Florida. I could be wrong. And they did this express pharmacy, what seemed to be like 2 blocks away from an existing Walgreens, and maybe the Walgreens, the large format Walgreens, was closing, and this is what they wanted to maintain. But I saw that.
I haven't seen that.
No, and maybe it
That's
wasn't
wild.
Florida. Yeah.
I've heard in other states, because I've seen the Walgreens Express concept and I've seen the store layout. The one that I'm remembering was like in Michigan or something like it was not in the Sun Belt that we refer to, Florida, Texas, California. But it was, I want to say 2,500 square feet in line. Wasn't on the out parcel end cap or anything. No drive through, nothing like that. But I haven't seen any down here yet.
I'm gonna have to do some digging because
me too. Now that you mentioned that,
the
I try to stay ahead and make sure that I'm as well read as I can be on what's happening.
Yeah, no,
but it's true. Pharmacy is changing. Amazon bought out. Was it Pill? They bought out a pharmaceutical company not too long ago for that purpose, to be able to mail and ship. But we're still seeing, and I know at least down here we've got an older community, and my mom is a part of that community. They do not trust the internet. They want to go. And I know that's a generalization statement, but my mom refuses to do her things online. I want to go to the pharmacy. I want to say hello to Catherine at the front counter. She already knows what I'm here for. They still want that.
Right, but Catherine's going to give her medications, but she can go elsewhere, whether it's the grocery. Even if she avoids online, the paper towel, the toilet paper, the toothpaste, and all those things can be picked up at her grocer. And so I think that's what leads to that potential, and I'm not calling for it, the 2,500 freestanding Walgreens Express or CVS Pharmacy Express or whatever they're going to call it. I could see that coming down the pike as the market and as people's mindset continue to change. So you'll
For
have,
sure.
it's the same way, Chipotle, it's Chipotlane now, right?
Yeah.
And all of the, so you can online order, and all you do
Yeah.
is pull up and you grab it, and there's no
Yeah.
box for you to go inside and sit down if that was your choice. You
Correct.
grab your goodies and you're gone.
And I
And
think that's why they're moving to. I'm seeing a lot of the Walgreens, when you look at the acquisitions, the CVSs of the world, looking to bring in medical services into the store.
yep,
So
yep,
as a one-stop shop, to your point, if I can go to a grocery store and do my toilet paper, meats, and pickups, and also pick up my pharmacy, I'm seeing a lot of that too. That movement into, can we have doctor services in here? Not just the pharmacist, but can we come in and do a checkup? Can we have a podiatrist or, OBGYN? I don't, I'm just throwing out
right,
random medical practices, but there has to be a almost a one-stop shop approach where you can pull the customer in to come to the store, pick up things, have a reason to come in. We see that a lot with the adult daycares here in South Florida, where
hmm
the medical ones are providing adult daycare services, where they're getting their hair cut, their nails done, they're having dance classes while they're seeing their doctor,
yeah.
dentist, and all that. So you've got to package all that together.
Yeah, and I can see, not that not that we're going to prognosticate here or anything, but whether it's a Walgreens or a CVS, picking up a city MD or whoever the urgent care is in your neighborhood, being part of that organization,
Wouldn't
fits
surprise me.
fits that bill too.
Yeah.
Especially if they have these long term triple net leases on boxes that they don't need to sell their goods anymore, so they could just rejigger them a little bit.
It would not surprise me. It just seems like that's what's going to happen.
Hmm.
And Amazon usually tends to lead. You can kind of
Right.
see what's going to happen with who's Amazon buying and what are they rolling out.
Mhm.
So it's very fun to watch retail be repurposed,
Yes.
because it's clear you don't need a 30,000 square foot presence on every single corner anymore with the internet. But what do you do with the footprint that you do have? Because you do have valuable real estate. Their location selection has always been great. So what can we do with this real estate?
Absolutely. So, just a broad throw a blanket over the whole thing in a good way. Retail's pretty strong down there.
Yeah, it's I enjoy it now. Maybe I'm biased just because I'm in it, but I'm in it by choice. I love what I'm seeing in the state of Florida. I love the activity, the new concepts. Um,
And you
I'm
like,
not seeing.
you also, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but you also like being 92% occupied and the ability to raise rents, right? You're still a
I
landlord. You're still a landlord, Gabe. You're still a landlord.
I'm a landlord by trade. We're always going to love that.
Good.
When you can call your shots and you can be selective of the
Right.
tenants and you can choose to work with best in class, it
Great.
truly is. I cannot complain.
That's great. That's good stuff. I'm going to transition a little bit here. All right. I'm going to
All right.
transition. Let's talk social media. All right.
Okay.
I said it on the intro. You and I are dear friends, 100% because of social media. I had the great fortune of meeting you and your family when you came into town last year, and I look forward to
Right.
seeing you the next time you're in. And I don't know, Vegas. I don't think I'm making Vegas this year because my daughter's graduating college that week, so I'm already
Oh,
not
no, no,
going
no,
to Vegas. I
no,
already
no.
know that. But we have to make a plan to get together, and I look forward to that. But
We do.
social media, you're a rock star. Okay. You post every day. I enjoy your little morning dog walks and your real estate ditties and all the positivity that you bring uh, to the place, to social media. I love all that positive. I love all that energy because I'm
Thank
a
you.
high energy guy. Uh,
Okay.
Unfortunately, most mornings I have to wait for you to get up to see your post because I'm waiting, I'm waiting, I'm waiting. But it's all good. You're still out there. You're still out there pretty early. Um,
Not as early as you, but yeah, we get there.
but I think that it's been really truly been a plus. I think the ROI, right? I think when we first met back in the day, Digital Army, whatever it was, the constant conversation was ROI,
Right.
and I see it. I'm sure you see it. Tell me how it reflects back into your business a little bit.
I think, and the ROI question, I think, has finally stopped happening just because so many people saw COVID was a big
Right.
revealer. If you didn't have an online presence, you were really SOL because that was
Mhm.
really the only way to stay in touch. But there's so many times that I will have a tenant reach out to me, and I know they do it because my Calendly link to schedule a call for me
Mhm.
is only on my Instagram. The amount of requests that I get from tenants who want to talk about our portfolio is through Instagram. And so what I'll do is I'll track what did they look at on my Instagram? And so they'll look at all the stories that are live. They'll like one or two posts typically, and then they'll send me a message. Hey, I'm such and such with such and such company. You seem like a real person. A lot of people will mention that you're not just some
Sure.
massive big corporation. You're just a real guy, a real person, wife, kids, dogs, all that. I'd love to talk to you about retail. So I'm seeing the ROI because I'm having conversations on a weekly basis from people who find me online.
Right.
It's just a tool. I think so many, especially the younger generation, said social media is the only way to do things. And it's just like all things. There's multiple approaches to the same end. There's not one way to do it all. But for me, it's been a great way to have my product in front of brokers. If I have a new listing, oftentimes we'll always send an e-blast. That's just something we do.
Right.
I'll
Right.
get 2 or 3 responses to the e-blast. If I put a highly desirable space up on Instagram or TikTok, I'm going to get 10, 15, 20, 25 brokers or tenants responding within the day. And so
Mhm.
I'm able to have instant communication back and forth. So when I look at my deal count, my deal flow, I can pretty much mostly track that most of the brokers who I'm doing deals with, most of the tenants I'm doing deals with, for the most part, are either a sign call or social media. So that to me is
That's
the
great.
answer. Is I know my deal count is at the end of the year, and I know social media is a big part of that. Um, I get the question: is it a lot of work? Yes.
Yeah.
This business is a lot of work.
It's a job. It's
Whether
part of the
you pick
job.
up the phone and call 30 people, or you pick up your phone and you send 30 DMs, you're working.
Right.
So I never got that question. Is it a lot of work? Well, no shit. This job is a lot of work. Um,
Yeah.
so it's
It's a
just how you
tremendous
approach
part.
it.
Right. I'm sorry. You have to do this. It's just it goes on the to do list.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are days you could just say, for this hour I'm going to focus on it, and other
Hmm.
days it's a little bit more random. But if you just like any other part of your planning process, you just say social media. You do it. You take it like if you block out that hour, just the same way you block out an hour to do a negotiation or a meeting or a lunch or whatever the case may be. And some days it's an hour at Insta. Some days it's an hour at Twitter. Some days it's an hour on Link. Whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And
It's a
but
part of it. It
you have
it
to be
goes on
doing
the list. It goes
it.
on
Right?
the list.
No, no.
It,
You have
it's
to be doing it.
it's just a part of it. And for me, it's to be top of mind. So
Right.
I have a very simple goal. If you are thinking about retail, I want my name to be one of the first 2 or 3 names that come to your mind. I don't care if you're in Boise, Idaho,
Right.
France, Miami. I want retail and Gabe to be in the same conversation. Hey, Gabe, do you know somebody? I'm in Boise, Idaho, and do you know somebody in Boise? By the way, I do. Here, talk to this man or this
Yep.
woman.
And that's going to take you right to the place where my good friend is going to tell you when you see him next week in Orlando. It's not who knows. It's not what you know. It's who knows you.
It's who knows
Right.
you,
It's
Mr.
not who
Bob
you
Knackle.
know. It's who knows you.
It's not
Right.
what you know. It's not who you know. It's who knows you.
Who knows you. And
And for
Bob
me,
Knackle. By the way, Bob Knackle, you're going to be blown away. You're going to be blown
I
away.
can't wait. He's going to be speaking, I think, Friday morning
Oh, good.
at the CREI event in Orlando. And I was just DMing with him last week, just letting him know I'm excited to hear him. His map room is this thing of legends that everyone's kind of looking to see at. And even just knowing that about the map room and what he's done is because of social.
Yep.
And it's just been a way. I was thinking about it this morning. I was like, social media has really allowed every individual person to run themselves as a business, and social is your PR platform.
That's right.
It is the message you're putting out. This is my expertise. These are the things that I know about. This is what I'm doing. Um, for me, it's been a game changer. The conversations that I've had with you and so many people like you around the country, we would have never gotten to know each other
Absolutely.
without social media. And whether we're talking retail, like we do a lot, whether we're talking about how amazing the Heat are compared to the Knicks, whatever
Oh
we're
no,
talking
no,
about,
no. Oh God. All right.
whatever
All
we're
right.
talking about,
I
it's
know.
just building a relationship.
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, you do business with people you like and you know.
And
And this has just been an ability to basically network at scale.
and you're 100% correct. And with that said, I want to tell you how grateful I am to you. I'm grateful for your friendship. I'm grateful for the knowledge that you bring to this audience, but more importantly, the knowledge that you bring to me about what's going on down there. I'm grateful for your family, and I look forward to spending more time with you and with them in the very near future. and keep kicking ass, keep crushing on social, keep crushing at Regency, and I look forward to all the things that you and I can do in the future.
Man, Cory, thank you so much. You're a gentleman. I appreciate you and your time. You've always reached out to offer words of wisdom, and I genuinely, human to human, really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabes. Have a good one, man.
All right, man. Be
Peace.
safe. 305.
Yeah. Fuck you.
Uh,